Jared Gooden. What's your nickname, Jared? I should know this. What's your nickname?
Come on, bro.
What is it?
Flash.
Jared
Flash Gordon, bro. Come on, Mike.
I know. Why didn't I get brain fart, Jared? Brain fart. I'm all about the nicknames. How are you, buddy? Thanks for joining us.
I'm all right. How you guys doing?
I'm not sure what's worse, the judges last weekend or your camera quality.
I don't know what's going on. I have a great laptop. So
I'm joking, buddy. I'm joking.
Don't worry about it. It's good.
I have a little smudge on there.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Jared, because, I'm sure you've got a lot to say and you've probably been doing the rounds and you're probably running out of, giving a shit now. I mean, how do you feel about last week, what went down?
I'm salty.
Yeah.
I'm a little bitter. I'm confused. It's quite bizarre to me. And, but on a higher note, getting a lot of attention, more than previously. So, sucks, but I think it's a setup for something big down the road. And I won.
Is there any consolation in knowing that the rest of the world, for the most part, inside of our community, I'm not saying that, of course you want the win, you want the second half of your check, you want the actual win on your record, but does it ease your mind a little bit knowing that us as analysts, your fellow fighters, and everyone else that essentially watched the fight think that you won?
Yeah, of course. And when the fight was over, I'm like, all right, I did enough. Rogan was like, yeah, you got this. And,
what, in the cage, Jared, he said that? Yeah. Really?
You got this. I think you got this. And I was like, all right, Joe's saying it. I guess I won. And then when they said unanimous, I was like, all right, I won. And then when I heard 29-28, I was like, all right, they made it a little closer than, because I thought it could have been 30-27, especially watching it back. But I can understand 29-28. And then they said his name, and I was like, the world is conspiring against me. But, it is what it is, and there's nothing I can do to change it. I can't control. It was out of my hands. And I just have to take the good from it and roll, because I still think it gives me a lot of momentum,
Yeah, so, it really does, Jared. Because it was a great performance. It was a fun fight. The crowd were enjoying it. It was great. And I think in most people's eyes, you did win as well. I think that's the kind of the general consensus. And I want to, I have to pick my words kind of carefully because, Paddy's a countryman of mine and I don't want the whole of the UK and all these supporters to turn against me and think that I'm being a hater. But I've got to call it like I saw it. So I was very open on our show on Monday. I said, listen, I thought you won, and it is kind of heartbreaking for somebody like yourself. This was your biggest opportunity, your biggest fight, right? Was that your first co-main event, certainly on a pay-per-view, against a big name like that? So I'm sure you push yourself to the limit. You go out there and it doesn't go your way. Immediately when you get out of the cage and you've had a few minutes for it to sink in and all the rest of it, how do you feel about it then after that? Do you kind of just like move on? Do you talk to the UFC and suggest a rematch? I mean, where do you go from here?
I mean, I already threw that out there, the rematch. I doubt that will come to fruition. I would fight him in London. At this point, I don't care where I fight him. The one round that people say I took off in the third round or that I threw away was the only round that two of the judges gave me.
But he said he took that off as well. I'm sure you saw that.
I mean, I was looking for the takedown. Yeah, it wasn't a striking affair, but, I was level changing up and down. I was trying to get the takedown. I did a poor job of it, unfortunately, but I did get a reversal on a takedown that he attempted. And then, I lost control of him and then we just stood up and then he had control for 20 seconds. So, but that was the one round where I was like, I regret that round. I should have tried to put more of a stamp on it. But the first two rounds, especially the first round, I clearly thought I won. The first round was the most decisive round. I mean, I had 2 minutes of control time on the floor. I was landing the cleaner strikes. You know, if you watch, those punches were grazing off of my arms and hands. I was moving, I was parrying punches. And so there's no explanation for it. The judges, it's just like the scorecards were super strange. Well, the one round people were blaming me for throwing. The third round was the only round the judges gave me. So it doesn't make any sense. I think anyone watches that first round, they said Jared won that first round. Second round was close, but I still thought I edged it. And I mean, I reversed every takedown that he attempted on me. I ended up on top. I had 6.5 minutes of control time. He had 0 takedowns on me, and I landed the cleaner punches. I literally have videos of me just moving, parrying, blocking, where anytime I threw a hook, it landed. Anytime I threw a right hand, it was landing right on his temple or chin. So I don't know. The only word for it is bizarre. And it's like one of those things where no one's going to forget this. It's always going to be something that, I'll go down in history as the guy that, I think it's top 3 worst decisions ever in MMA history.
Dude, I totally agree with that 100%. And Jared, you made me look like a goddamn genius on the from the pre-show,
which is hard to do, Jared.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot. But I thought you were going to be the better, more technical striker. I think maybe Paddy, because he carries so much heavy, he gets so heavy in between fights, maybe he'd be a little more powerful. But I thought you'd be more technical. I thought you were the better wrestler. And the only chink I really seen was like maybe a little bit in the Dawson fight. You gave your back up a little too much, and that's kind of Paddy's area. But
yeah,
man, I thought across the board you fought a really, really good fight. I thought I was honestly, to be very honest, I was proud of you when the fight was over. Like that's exactly what that guy had to do to win that fight. Was there any surprises? I'm always curious, like from what you expected going in there, was he stronger than you thought? Was he not? Was he weaker? Was he slower?
He was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Come out hard, try to be flashy, and then just fade. My only regret is on my part that I didn't open up more. And that's always been something that I critique myself over because, the number one goal for me is to win. I'm not here to try to sit and go in a slug match and be in a firefight. How that could end for anyone. And I want to go home with 2 checks, obviously. I want to get another win on my record, and I want to move on in my contract. So the goal for me is to always win. And if I end up, having something spectacular happen, then great. I try not to force those things, though. And with Paddy, I knew he was going to come out being flash, trying to be, go for big punches and open up and throw kicks and be, I was ready for it all. Like his judo throws, I was working with a judo Olympic alternate for this fight. And anytime he went for a throw, I literally reversed it. I did everything that I trained for. And the only thing that, like I said, I regret is just not going for a little bit more. And I lost position on the floor, which is my bread and butter is ground and pound and being on top of guys. So I do have some regrets, but I still think I won fair and square. So, but you know what? Even if I won this fight, the narrative would have been switched. Oh, it was boring. Oh, you hugged him in the last round. Oh, Paddy just sucks. They would have somehow switched the narrative on me, and I would look worse for winning than I probably would for this happening. I have more fans on my side now, especially for the way that Paddy spoke in his post-fight interview in the cage, which I don't care as the fans that apparently lost respect for him. And I probably gained way more fans this way. And I spoke to Dana after, and he was like, look, you literally came out with the best, coming off of a loss, this is the best circumstance for you that could have ever have happened. And I think he's right. I have, it's only been 4 days, so I have yet to see the silver lining. But I'm sure, it'll be made apparent. I text my manager and I was like, give me Tony Ferguson. I think it makes sense. Where he's at in his career, I have a decent name now, I guess you could say. And, he's where he is, I'm where I'm at. And And I think it makes sense for me to get a fight like that. And so I think eyes will be on me now. People are going to be watching this fight. People are are behind me, and they're going to want to see me get in there. So I don't know why something like that wouldn't make sense. I don't think I'll fight behind me necessarily. I think it'll be someone with a name or with a decent, following. So
Tony Ferguson would be a fantastic next opponent. And you're right, and that is the correct attitude. Listen, didn't go your way. What are you going to do? It is what it is. It's happened, and sadly, it is a part of the sport sometimes. The judges need to get their shit together. We talked about that at length on Monday. But there is a lot of upside to it. But you mentioned before about Paddy in his post-fight interview. He said he didn't think it was even close at all. Well, and how did that to say it wasn't even close in those first 2 rounds? I mean, come on, I think regardless of whether you thought you won or Paddy won, I think everyone can agree that it was close. Do you know we had you winning, but come on, you can't say it wasn't close. What did that make you think?
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We just fought. I just cracked him in the chin and temple a couple times. He was tired, and he didn't get to watch the fight back yet. So I could see in his head how he thought he won, especially after, getting the nod. But he also has to keep the circus going, and that persona and his whole shtick. It's got to keep going. So I get it, man. Paddy, I like him, man. We were laughing, we were having fun all week. There's no malicious or ill will towards him or his team. His coaches are super nice. I fought his teammates, so I already know his coaches previously. And so I get it, man. It's his character, and he's got to keep it going. And it's like Conor, man. Guy's laying against the cage with his leg in half, and he's already dropping a promo telling everyone
he was threatening to murder Dustin and his wife in their sleep with a bullet to the head. I mean, called that a promo, called it attempted murder.
It's a pretty good promo. It's a pretty good promo.
So
Jared, I wanted to ask you this. I'd said leading, because I think something that maybe we don't talk about as analysts enough is sometimes maybe that Conor McGregor effect or the Paddy Pimblett effect, where, I mean, unfortunately, I was kind of blown away when you were walking out and people are booing you in your home country with a guy from the UK. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I think sometimes that does get to people. And I think sometimes people can allow that to get into their head. And just like you called it, the circus show a little bit. Even me, myself, I got wrapped up into the circus show a little bit when I fought John Jones. It's just a different beast, So I had said on the, and I urge all the believers here to like dig into Jared's story a little bit. Like, I didn't think that was going to be a big deal for you, because you've already been through a lot of shitty things. You've had a rough go at it at times. I didn't think that Paddy was going to take you anywhere that you haven't already been worse places in your own head. So was there any issues there as far as dealing with the circus show and the fans and kind of the bullshit that come along with that?
Man, I embraced it all. And I have a sports psychologist, and we did so much visualization, the backstage, the warm up. She's telling me, all right, visualize hitting pads backstage, the cameras. All right, 5 minutes, Jared, walking to that X on the floor. All right, stay here. We're going in 2 minutes. All right, let's go. And then the walkout. And then, picturing my walkout, I figured I was going to be the first guy to walk. Now I'm in the cage. Now I've listened to his walkout numerous times just to visualize and get that sound in my head. And when he was walking out, doing his little thing, man, I loved it and I embraced it. And I did it 1,000 times in my head. I visualized it 1,000 times. And then I visualized executing and doing what I wanted to do. And Bruce Buffer screaming our names. And then, all right, are you ready? Are you ready? Fight. And go in there and win. And that's what I did.
I used to do the exact same thing. Way. Because for those people that don't quite understand the benefits of that, because when it does happen, mentally in your mind, you've been there a number of times. So it doesn't have, it helps with the nerves and the nervous energy and all the rest of it. We don't want to sit here and just bang on about that all night. And if you don't want to go into this, I don't, then that's fine. But as Anthony mentioned there, you have been through some trials and tribulations throughout your life to get you here, and I think your story inspires a lot of people, Jared. Would you mind sharing like some of your darkest days and what you had to endure and what you had to go through?
Yeah, of course. I love talking about it.
Yeah, no, as I say, I think people would love to hear it. And because we have a lot of people, we had some video questions recently for some guys struggling with addiction and things like that, so it's important for people to see and to hear from people like yourself that have overcome these demons.
A lot of stories, man. I have some really, really good stories.
You told me a couple in Fight Island when me, you, and Felder were having dinner. Yeah. I was like, fucking, Jared's a crazy man.
I had some crazy things go down. I'll tell you a couple of stories. So one time, and this is just like weird how it happened full circle. So, I trained at Kill Cliff or Henry Hoof's gym. And when I was 20 years old, or 21, I came down to Florida to train. I was still an amateur. I went pro when I was 22, but my now wife's friend was like part owner of the gym that they opened up, and it was called Imperial Athletics at the time. And I got myself into a little mischief, and 4 days later, the cops came to pick me up at Imperial Athletics, and I'm wrestling with Michael Johnson, and police walk into the detectives walk into the gym, they walk onto the mat, and they arrest me in front of everyone. They're on the mats with their shoes on. Henry's there. Rashad Evans had just won the title. He was there. Anthony Johnson, rest in peace, was there. Michael Johnson. What was? I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Black guy that had blonde hair. He fought Nate Diaz.
Melvin Gillard.
Melvin Gillard was there. There was a bunch of guys in there, man. And I got arrested for a home invasion, robbery, felony battery. I was facing 25 to life.
Whoa.
I got accused of robbing a guy that was a drug dealer, but I broke into his house. I made a bunch of noise, and police came to arrest me for it, but I beat the case. Guy never came to testify against me, so they just dismissed the case. But
came to testify.
Yeah.
And we know a few people. We break a few legs. You don't fucking show up in court, bro.
He never. No one knows where he is. It's weird.
Yeah, he disappeared. It's weird.
Yeah, no one ever seen him again. That's weird.
Everglades, all sorts of weird things. A lot of holes out here. But it was a weird time for me, man. And I was in maximum security holding. I was dope sick. I was in there with murderers and armed robbers. And then 10 years later, I'm training with Henry again, and it's just crazy how it all, when I had made my UFC debut, I walked into the elevator and there was Henry. He's looking at me and he's like, I haven't seen him in years. And he's like, I know you from somewhere. I'm like, yeah, I remember I got arrested in your gym. He's like, oh shit. He's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm fighting. And he was like, you're fighting? You're in the UFC? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, holy shit. And now I train with him. That was when I made my debut. I was still in New York. 5 years later, I'm here with Henry. That was a funny story. One time I was out at Donald Cerrone's ranch. Felder was fighting Ross Pearson. And, similar style, shorter guy, stocky, the way we move. So he asked me to come out and train for him. And I was shooting dope. And
at the ranch.
At the ranch, everyone's there.
When you say shooting dope, what you mean heroin?
Shoot heroin, yeah. And it's Felder, Pat.
It's not the best preparation for going into sparring. Most people, I would assume, I've never done heroin, but would like to lie down and relax. Getting punched in the face when you're on heroin doesn't sound like a good time.
Not much of a stimulant. So Pat Healy was there. I don't know if you know Jafari. It was Cerrone's wrestling coach.
Mm-hmm. There.
Yeah. Jonathan Webb Hughes in the UFC was there. A bunch of other guys. And obviously Cowboy was there. and I'm like passed out in my room, like on the bed. And I think Jonathan came to me and was like, "Hey, we got to talk to you inside." So I walk in there, and when I had shot up, I had left like my toiletry bag on top of the toilet with all my dope and needles in there. And I just like stumbled out of the bathroom and fell on the bed and passed out. And someone obviously, someone went to take a piss and they saw it. So, they're all sitting in the circles like A&E intervention, and they're like, "Hey man, we found this." And it was just like, so embarrassing, such an embarrassing moment. And I got like, Cerrone. I was 23 at the time, I think, and it was like over 10 years ago. This was, and at the time, Cerrone's he's, I guess, in his prime, or he was doing really well at that time. I think he was about to fight RDA for the belt, and it's like they're all looking at me like, "What the?" And I'm just like, "Sorry guys," start crying.
I can only imagine the shame that you felt in that.
Yeah, fuck, that's crazy. Then what happened? Did they make you leave?
Man,
they were like, "Come on, give me some of that shit. I hear it's great."
Yeah, I was like, give it back to me. No, so Cerrone knew someone that had an issue with opiates, and they had given me like some Suboxone to come off of, and I actually stopped using it for the time that I was there. I got off, and I it was really tough, obviously, and Paul went and fought. He lost that fight, but I was clean. And then when I got home, I relapsed. But those were like some of my dark moments. They were shameful, but they weren't like that low. I've been homeless. I've lived in homeless shelters. I've lived on the street. Jails, institutions, psych wards, therapeutic communities, crisis centers, overdoses. I got arrested 8 times due to my indirectly or directly because of my drug and alcohol abuse. And track marks up and down my arms, psychosis, like shooting cocaine for days.
Jesus
and
Christ.
My last overdose was December 25th, 2015.
Hold on. Last overdose, how many overdoses are we talking?
I had 3, which isn't a lot. I know kids that have had over a dozen overdoses.
So obviously a lot there. What would you say to someone watching this show right now that fucking wants to? Because I'm sure you wanted too many times, and I'm sure a lot of people, they don't choose that life and they want to get off it and they want to be on the straight and narrow. What would you say to someone like that the best piece of advice maybe you ever got told or that you can give to help someone, whether it's drugs, drink, alcohol, whatever addiction it is in their life or issue that they have?
The biggest thing for me was, believing that there was like something bigger than myself that was, controlling the universe, and that could like restore me to sanity. And I had to hand my will over to that higher power. I had to hand my will over to the care of this being. And I call him Jesus. I'm not saying that you have Jesus. It could be, if you're Muslim, it could be Allah. It could be whatever you believe in. Or it could be something as simple as you got a kid that needs you, or you have a sick parent or a sick grandparent that needs you, or whatever your passion is. For me, at first, MMA was a real driving reason for me to get sober. I still had fighting, and I was 9-1 as a pro when I had my last overdose. And I'm like, all right, like I can't do this on my own. Like whatever I do never works. So I'll take some suggestions. And, I started, sitting in a homeless shelter / treatment center in Queens, New York. And, it was a disgusting place, but like at that time for me, I was like, this isn't that bad. This is pretty decent. Like I'm eating 3 meals a day. I have a place to shower. There was feces on the walls in the shower stalls, but I've been in a lot worse places. It wasn't jail. I wasn't freezing cold in the streets. So I was pretty grateful. And after everything I went through, and between fighting and, near-death experiences, I was like, all right, there's got to be something bigger than me. And at first I used all my friends that had been killed or died from overdoses as like my higher power. And I would say, all right, I'm going to do it for them. And then over time, I started to realize like, all right, there's something bigger than just my dead friend. And, like I said, I call him God or Jesus. But it could be whatever is, it could be the ocean. The ocean is something that's more powerful than you as a human, or it could be, like I said, your child, or you have a job that you need so desperately that, like, otherwise you're gonna, you can't pay rent. You got to find your passion, man. For me, fighting was my passion, is my passion. I love competing. I love UFC. I love fighting for the UFC. I love MMA, martial arts. And, I thought at first that it was just about like making money and getting cool and being popular. And, but then I realized that, like, the gift of fighting has been given to me to use my platform, to spread awareness. And obviously I still have my own goals. I still want to climb the ladder, and everyone wants to become champion. If you're not trying to become champion, then what are you doing in the sport? So, but the more popular I get, the more I win, the more people I can help. So
yeah.
Find your purpose, find your higher power. It could be whatever you want it to be. I'm not telling you to find Jesus. And you got to work hard, man. Faith without works is dead. You too, both of you guys, I know your careers very well. You do not have the easy road.
No.
I remember when you were fighting at CFFC, Anthony. I was a CFFC champion.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You had already like 454 fights or something.
Yeah. I'd already been at this for 47 years.
Still
454 fights.
And I believe you won the title, you defended, and then you got to UFC, I think.
No, I had to fight like 2 more times after that.
Right. Okay. So it's a never-ending battle. And like, if you look at the beginning of your career, it was very rough.
Very.
And Mike, your way to the belt was hell on earth. And then what you did to defend the title with your eye and all the other crazy shit that you went through. I mean, I believe your purpose was your family, your kids. I watched your movie and you were like, yo, I got kids. Like, I have no option. That was a bigger power than yourself, man. Something that you had to do no matter what.
Well, 100%. And as you said there, find your purpose, because you're absolutely right, Jared. Prior to the kids and my wife coming along, I didn't give a shit. I didn't care. You know what I mean? I didn't care about me. If I went to prison or whatever, who cared? You should fucking write a book, Jared, one day, because I'm sure,
written.
Quite the story.
I'm going over the chapters with an author.
Nice.
And I have a whole movie script written by the guy that actually produces the Dana White Looking for a Fight show. And he he's done a bunch of 30 for 30s. He just made a movie with Aljamain Sterling, I think. And so, the more I win, the more chances I have. Hopefully I get something big after this. Well, I know I will, just because the universe.
Well,
I'm going to need a copy of that book.
I'll send you a copy of mine, Anthony. If you've been saying,
you know what, Mike? You go ahead and keep it. You've been telling me you're going to send me this book for a long time.
Hold on. I want Jared's book. Endless books.
I'm sending you
mine. I'm going to give you a pop quiz. But Jared, we'll let you go on this. From one formerly homeless guy to another, right? Harrington. And if we ever fire Harrington, I'm just saying, Jared could fill in for him. Look at Jared. Look at Harrington. Harrington, come on the screen and join us, buddy. Take your hat off, Harrington. Take your hat off.
Jesus, and you got a UFC shirt.
And he used to be homeless. And he used to, sell his ass for sex to pay his way, but it is what it is. Harrington's our producer. He's had a tough time in life as well, but he's worked it all out as well. So we just tease him and have a laugh. But he's a great member of the team. He has some questions for you from the people on Twitter. Harrington, all yours, buddy.
We do not dwell on these experiences nor wish to close the door on them. Let's see here. Yeah, dude. Let's see here. Tony Quant wants to know. There was a lot of discussion prior to the fight, and even in Paddy's post-fight interview there, about you guys joining up for some charity work. Has he reached out to you yet about getting the ball rolling on that?
So post-fight, backstage, I spoke to Graham, his manager, Graham Boylan, right? His last name. Mm-hmm. And he said they want to do something. Nothing has happened yet, but let's see. Hopefully we can do something, man. I mean, he's got quite the platform. I'm gaining more of a platform. People are starting to know me now, so maybe we can figure something out.
Hell yeah. Okay. This one comes up quite a bit from Swerve. If you could choose to fight any fighter in their prime, who would it be?
In their prime?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to fight guys in their prime. Maybe
I'm gonna say the correct answer is nobody.
tail end of their career, maybe. Man, I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't want to say I want to fight my favorite fighters, because that feels weird. Frank Yeager, by the way, was, when I was younger, my
idol, I'm sure.
role model, I guess you could say. But I'm friends with him. I don't want to fight Frankie. Maybe BJ Penn. That's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Would have been tough. Harrington, no pressure. Final question. Make it good. Make it humorous. Make it so good that Jared was so happy that he came on the show.
I mean, come on, man. I'm sure he is already. All right. What do you make of this? AJS says, I hope you know you're an honorary Mancunian for life, maybe even more Mancunian than Bisping for beating that Scouser.
Oh, yeah. So just a bit of background. Mancunian means somebody from Manchester. Liverpool and Manchester, generally, they have this, well, certainly it comes from football, soccer, like a beef. You know what I mean? So you're a Mancunian for life, Jared.
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, you know what? The world knows. Paddy knows. I won that fight. Those judges are blind and being investigated.
No, that's right. That's right. He's being investigated.
The winner, baby. And someone told me I should put in my bio, first guy to beat Paddy Pimblett in the UFC. And I was like, I'm not gonna die on that hill. So I wouldn't do that.
Sorry, I've got one more. We'll end on this. Jared, this is your opportunity. The world is watching. Since Anthony Smith came on, those numbers are skyrocketing. A message for Paddy Pimblett. If you're looking into the soul and the eyes of Paddy right now, what would you say?
Paddy, I wish you all the best. I love you as a character and as a person. I think we became friendly during fight week. We shared 15 minutes in the cage together. But I won.
Oh.
Deep down inside, I won.
All class.
Love that. I love
all
that.
Class.
I absolutely love that.
All right, Jared. Well, listen, we'll say farewell. We've got Jamal Hill jumping on in a minute. Thank you for your time today. Always love talking to you, mate.
Thanks,
and looking forward to seeing the next fight. Have a great Christmas. Happy holidays with your family and all the rest of it. And hopefully talk to you again soon.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Take care, brother.
My man.